Om Gyana Timirandasya Niranjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Jnanam Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Nistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupagada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Siguro Sijuta Parakamalam Sigurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raganatan Vidhantang Sajivam Vadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanditangscha He Krishna Karuna Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakopa Chubascha Kripa Sindhu Bhirvacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naranam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devam Saraswati Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudidayet Nasta Presho Bhadreshu Nijam Bhagavat Shevaya Bhagavad Utama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. So today, January 29th, 2026, Thursday, the appearance day of Lord Varaha, the personality of Godhead, and we're going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Status Quo. Chapter 13 is entitled The Appearance of Lord Varaha. So, Manu has appeared along with his wife in front of Lord Brahma. And he says, "You are the father of all living entities and the source of their subsistence because they are all born of you. Please order us how we may be able to render service to you. O worshipful one, please give us your direction for the execution of duty within our working capacity so that we can follow it for fame in this life and progress in the next." Lord Brahma said, "My dear son, O Lord of the world, I am very pleased with you and I desire all blessings for both you and your wife. You have, without reservation, surrendered yourself unto me with your heart for my instructions. O hero, your example is quite befitting a son in relationship with his father. This sort of adoration for the superior is required. One who is beyond the limit of envy and who is sane accepts the order of his father with great delight and executes it to his full capacity." Similar to what we're also reading in the 5th canto about Priyavata. Here Brahma is pleased with Manu for accepting his Brahma's order. And also he comes to instruct Priyavata to accept the order of his father Manu, just as Manu has done with Lord Brahma. And he says, "O king, if you can give proper protection to the living beings in the material world, that will be the best service for me. When the Supreme Lord sees you to be a good protector of the conditioned souls, certainly the master of the senses will be pleased with you. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardhan, Lord Krishna, is the form to accept all the results of sacrifice. If he is not satisfied, then one's labor for advancement is futile, as it is stated in the first canto, Shrama eva hi kevalam, that even if one does one's duties perfectly, but they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Lord, then such activities are considered to be Shrama eva hi kevalam, a waste of time. Manu said, he says, if he is not satisfied, then one's labor for advancement is futile. He is the ultimate self, and therefore one who does not satisfy him certainly neglects his own interests. So it is actually in one's own best interest to serve the Lord. Normally, conditioned souls think that to serve my own interest means to serve my senses and make arrangements for my own sense gratification and happiness. That is in my best self-interest, but that's actually not the case. It is exactly the opposite. But when one satisfies the Lord, then he truly satisfies his own self-interest by pleasing the Lord, and then the Lord becomes pleased with him and reciprocates. Sri Manu said, O all-powerful Lord, O killer of all sins, I shall abide by your order. Now please let me know my place in that of the living entities born of me. O master of the demigods, please attempt to lift the earth. Some counts. I was reading in Wikipedia what they had to say about Lord Varaha. Direct us. O sinless Vidura, all of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a boar came out of his nostril. This is not your typical booger. But the small form of the boar came out of his nostril. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb, like the size of a thumbnail. O descendant of Bharata, while Brahma was observing him, capital H, that boar became situated in the sky in a wonderful manifestation, as gigantic as a great elephant. Struck with wonder at observing the wonderful boar-like form in the sky, Brahma, with great brahmanas like Marichi, as well as the Kumaras and Manu, began to argue in various ways. Is this some extraordinary entity come in the pretense of a boar? Yes, extraordinary indeed, the Supreme Lord, in the pretense of a boar. It is very wonderful that he has come from my nose. First of all, this boar was seen no bigger than the tip of a thumb, and within a moment he was as large as a stone. My mind is perturbed. Is he the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu? Good guess. That's a good guess. While Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu roared tumultuously like a great mountain. Mountains can roar, you know. The omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. When the great sages and thinkers who are residents of Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Boar, which was the all-auspicious sound of the all-merciful Lord, they chanted auspicious chants from the 3 Vedas. This is what's called pastime. This is the pastime of the Lord. Why would the Lord appear as a boar and roar tumultuously? Because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's enjoying pastimes. It's called lila, or sporting pastimes. And including the sporting is to lift up the earth from the depths of the Garbhodak ocean and to engage in a nice fight with Hiranyaksha. So that's pastime. I mean, why on earth would the Lord take a form of a boar? A boar is generally considered haram. It is abominable, unclean. But that's part of the Leela, because the earth had fallen down to the bottom, the dirty part of the universe. And then the boar was suitable for picking up the earth with his tusks, like a boar root. They sometimes root in the dirt for, mushrooms or roots or different things like that. Generally very like filthy, tamasic, right? But the Lord is doing this pastime, but he's not filthy, he's not tamasic, and he's actually lifting up the globe of the planet, the island of the earth, out of the water and restoring it to its proper orbit. So playing like an elephant, he entered into the water after roaring again and replied to the Vedic prayers by the great devotees. This is also part of this pastime, is this roaring. He's roaring. This tumultuous sound, it's the transcendental, it's like a devotee going, Haribol! It's like that, only it's the Lord himself, and roaring in his transcendental voice, which echoes throughout the universe. It is way cool that the Lord does that, because he's just reveling in his own potencies and leelas, in his own enjoyment. And so he's just letting rip off a big old scream that's like more powerful than anything. And then when the sages on the planets like Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, they heard this roaring, they're like, and Lord Brahma and his sons, they were like, yeah, they were enlivened. What a great sound that was. A transcendental roar. How wonderful. And he roared again in reply to the prayers by the sages on the higher planets, like Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. The Lord is the object of the Vedic prayers, and thus he understood that devotees' prayers were meant for him. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashing his tails, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks. He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and was therefore transcendental. Yet, because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. Imagine a hog rooting around in the undergrowth. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee brahmanas, engaged in offering prayers. He gave them a loving glance. Thank you for your chanting. And by the way, if you chant the Hare Krishna mantra nicely, then Krishna will cast his loving glance on you, both in your japa and in kirtan. Thus he entered the water. Diving into the water like a giant mountain, Lord Boar divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean. It's on either side as he made a big splash, parting of the seas. And the ocean cried loudly as if praying to the Lord, "O Lord of all sacrifices, please do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection." Lord Boar penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limits of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Lord Boar very easily took the earth on his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus, he appeared very splendid. Then, his anger glowing like the Sudarshan wheel, he immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although Hiranyaksha tried to fight with the Lord. Thereupon the Lord Boar killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging in the purple earth. Then the Lord, playing like an elephant, suspended the earth on the edge of his curved white tusks. He assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamal tree, and thus the sages, headed by Brahma, could understand him to be the supreme personality of Godhead and offered respectful obeisances unto the Lord. Oh yes, we know that blue color. That's the color of Lord Vishnu. That's the color of Krishna. So he's like a grayish, brownish boar, or also described with white hairs. And then suddenly he turns into the blue Vishnu color. And all the sages are like, yep, that's Vishnu, all right. I knew it. Well, I knew it all along. Who else could it be? And therefore they offered their obeisances. All the sages uttered with great respect, O unconquerable enjoyer of all sacrifices, all glories and all victories unto you. You are moving in your form of the personified Vedas, and in the hair holes of your body the oceans are submerged. For certain reasons, to uplift the earth, you have now assumed the form of a boar. O Lord, your form is worshipable by performances of sacrifice, but souls who are simply miscreants are unable to see it. And some of those miscreants are those speculators who write those articles for Wikipedia. They take the Lord, the appearance of the Lord in his boar form as some symbologic imagery with some like other meaning other than the fact that it's the Lord appearing as a boar. Oh, it symbolizes the sacrifice and the mother goddess and the wish for procreation and to keep the ocean from having big waves come on the beach and destroy the inhabitations of humans, and it's all nonsense stuff, all nonsense speculation. So those are the miscreants, simply miscreants who are unable to see that this is the Lord, because they don't perform any sacrifice. All the Vedic hymns, Gayatri and others, are in the touch of your skin, and your bodily hair is the kusha grass, and your eyes is the clarified butter, and in your 4 legs are the 4 kinds of fruitive activities. O Lord, your tongue is a plate of sacrifice, your nostril is another plate of sacrifice, and in your belly is the eating plate of sacrifice, and another plate of sacrifice is the holes of your ears. In your mouth is the Brahma plate of sacrifice. Your throat is the plate of sacrifice known as Soma, and whatever you chew is known as Agnihotra, which means fire sacrifice. So this is the real interpretation of the form of the Lord and the sages. Moreover, O Lord, the repetition of your appearance is the desire for all kinds of initiation. Your neck is the place for 3 desires, and your tusks are the result of initiation and the end of all desires. Your tongue is the prior activities of initiation. Your head is the fire without sacrifice, as well as the fire of worship. And your living forces are the aggregate of all desires. O Lord, your semen is a sacrifice called Soma Jagya. Your growth is the ritualistic performances of the morning. Your skin and touch sensations are the 7 elements of the Agnishtoma sacrifice. Your bodily joints are symbols of various other sacrifices performed in 12 days. These are analogies drawing from the appearance of the Lord in terms of sacrifice. And the Vedas state that Jagyo by Vishnu, that Vishnu is the sacrifice. And that Bhagavad Gita explains that Yagyar tat karmano nyacha lokoyam kama varnanaha, that work as a sacrifice has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. So therefore, everyone should be engaged in performing sacrifice for the Lord. But ignorant people, especially the militia class, which is prevalent all over the world, they have no idea any of this. Natevatu Swarta Gatim Hi Vishnu, they have no idea that the goal of life, the Swarta Gatim, the best interest of everyone, and the ultimate goal is the performance of sacrifice to please Vishnu, to serve Vishnu. Therefore, you are the object of all sacrifices called Soma and Asoma, and you are bound by Jagyas only. O Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and are worshipable by universal prayers, Vedic hymns, and sacrificial ingredients. We offer our obeisances unto you. You can be realized by the pure mind freed from all visible and invisible material contamination. We offer our respectful obeisances to you as the supreme spiritual master of knowledge and devotional service. O lifter of the earth with its mountains, which you have lifted with your tusks, is situated as beautifully as a lotus flower with leaves, sustained by an infuriated elephant just coming out of the water. O Lord, as the peaks of great mountains become beautiful when decorated with clouds, your transcendental body has become beautiful because of your lifting the earth on the edge of your tusks. O Lord, for the residential purposes of all inhabitants, both moving and non-moving, this earth is your wife, and you are the Supreme Father. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you, along with Mother Earth, in whom you have invested your own potency, just as an expert sacrificer puts fire in the Arani wood. An expert performer of Vedic sacrifice, they can summon the fire from the Arani wood without a big lighter, like you don't see in the Vedic sacrifices. Can you bring another lighter from the Pujari room? Cheap lighters. If they get wet, they don't work. And half the time they don't work anyway because they're very cheap. But an expert performer of fire sacrifice, the Brahman Aranyakas, they can assemble all the ingredients of the fire sacrifice and the sacred wood, and then they chant some mantras and poof, the fire magically appears. You know, Jimi Hendrix tried to simulate this idea of performing sacrifice by pouring lighter fluid on his guitar and setting it on fire, and he was like conjuring it up, you know, as if he were some, you know, great performer of sacrifices, which he was not. But I watched the video of that recently, and it was kind of funny. He was trying to conjure up, you know, the gods. But an expert sacrificer doesn't need, you know, Ronson lighter fluid and a big lighter. So there's one devotee, one ISKCON devotee named Gaur Keshava, who's very expert at performing fire sacrifices and Brahminical things. He was obviously some great kind of yogic Brahmin in his previous life. And he learned from these South Indian Brahmanas the secret of conjuring up a fire without using any matches. The secret was they have these different chemical powders that they mix together. And they mix together and throw it into the fire, poof, and the fire springs up as if by magic. It's actually a trick, like a magic trick. He explained this to me one time. It was very funny. And so just like if you have sodium and you throw it in water, it explodes. It's a chemical reaction. So they have these tricks, these professional brahmanas, who cannot actually conjure the fire from Arni wood because there are no qualified yogic Brahmins in Kali Yuga. But they have a trick, and they can make the fire appear seemingly by conjuring, but it's actually having the right chemical powders, which when they come in contact with each other, they spontaneously combust. Pretty funny, isn't it? But we may not be real Brahmins, but we know some tricks to make it look like we are. So therefore, you have to, in order for us to perform the sacrifice, just like when they were installing the deities of Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan, they hired these professional South Indian Brahmanas to do the pujas and install the deities. And of course, they require so much gold for the sacrifice, otherwise it's not bona fide. Well, that gold is what goes in their pocket. It's the profit they make. And Srila Prabhupada said that actually we don't need these brahmanas to install the deities. Simply by chanting the holy name, that is sufficient. But to pacify the local inhabitants of Vrindavan who are attached to all these rituals and things, then we'll let them put on their show. But Prabhupada just considered that it was a show only and not in any way necessary or in any way particularly bona fide either. He said, our men chanting Hare Krishna, that is sufficient for installing the deity. That was the real thing. The devotees chanting the holy name, that's the real potency and power. So who else but you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could deliver the earth from within the water? It is not very wonderful for you, however, because you acted most wonderfully in the creation of the universe. By your energy, you have created this wonderful cosmic manifestation. O Supreme Lord, undoubtedly we are inhabitants of the most pious planets, the Jana, Tapa, and Satyalokas. But still we have been purified by the drops of water sprinkled from your shoulder hairs by the shaking of your body. And when he got out of the water, you ever seen a dog get out of the water and shake himself to get the water off? You don't want to be standing next to him when he does that, especially if he has long hair. But when Lord Varaha comes up out of the water with the earth, and then he shakes, and the hairs on his shoulder, by that shaking, the water's being sprinkled, and it's been sprinkled onto these sages from Janaloka, Satyaloka, and Tapaloka. And still, we have been purified. They're very happy to get those hairs, the water shaken from the hairs of the body of the Transcendental Board. O Lord, there is no limit to your wonderful activities. Anyone who desires to know the limit of your activities is certainly nonsensical. Everyone in this world is conditioned by the powerful mystic potencies. Please bestow your causeless mercy upon these conditioned souls. So that's interesting that someone who thinks they can measure God or know, like, okay, I know everything about God. I know his limit of his potencies. How he does this, how he does that. I got it all figured out. I've conquered God with my intelligence, with my intellectual power. And those sages are saying, anyone who thinks like that, he's nonsense. He's just a nonsense. He's a fool. He doesn't know anything. And Lord Brahma, we mentioned this last time, says that in the 14th chapter, the 10th canto, when he's offering his prayers to Krishna after stealing the cowherd boys and the calves, and then realizing that his attempt to fool Krishna with his mystic potency backfired on him, and Krishna fooled him with his greater mystic potency. And then he says, as far as I'm concerned, I cannot understand anything about you. You are far beyond the limit of my body and my mind and my senses. Now others, they may claim that they know everything about you, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't understand anything of your glories, which are unlimited and inconceivable. So that's his prayer. And we know that Lord Brahma is very powerful. He's the most powerful person in the universe, aside from the Lord. But his power is nothing. And his great intellect is nothing compared to the potencies of the Lord. So anyone who is thinking, I can conquer God by my intellect. I can limit him, I can measure him, I can contain him. That's what modern science does. We can measure everything, we can limit everything, we can contain everything, we can extract the glories of the material energy from the material energy, and this way become the controllers and enjoyers of the material energy. But that is not the fact. That's a fool's paradise, in which a hallucination in which they are so foolishly living. Everyone in this world is conditioned by the powerful mystic potencies. Please bestow your causeless mercy upon these conditioned souls. The great sage Maitreya said, the Lord, being thus worshipped by all the great sages and transcendentalists, touched the earth with his hooves and placed it on the water. He touched it with his lotus feet to purify it. In this manner, the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the maintainer of all living entities, raised the earth from within the water, and having placed it afloat on the water, he returned to his own abode. If one hears and describes in a devotional service attitude this auspicious narration of Lord Bor, which is worthy of description, the Lord, who is within the heart of everyone, is very pleased. Nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. By transcendental achievement, one understands everything else to be insignificant. One who engages in transcendental loving service is elevated to the highest perfectional stage by the Lord himself, who is seated in everyone's heart. Who, other than one who is not a human being, can exist in this world and not be interested in the ultimate goal of life? Who can refuse the nectar of narrations about the personality of Godhead's activities, which by itself can deliver one from all material pangs? And that's the end of chapter 13. So, along with this beautiful narration of the pastimes of the Lord are the benedictions given. It's called the Palashruti, or the fruit of hearing. Pala means fruit, like patram, pushpam, palam, toyam. If one offers me with love and devotion, patra, a leaf, patram, pushpam, a flower, palam, a fruit, toyam, or water, then I will accept it, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So the fruit, or the result of hearing, that's called the Palashruti. And that's the benediction, that these benedictions are given at the end of the narrations of different pastimes of the Lord. And the fruit is given. And hearing about Krishna's incarnations and his pastimes in his relationships with his devotees, that by itself can deliver one from all material pangs. Have you ever felt any material pangs? I would say yes. Every man, woman, and child who ever existed has felt those pangs, but one can be easily delivered from those pangs by hearing the narrations of the Lord's activities. And that's also, there's a verse like that in the 10th canto. Nirvitatar Shire, Upagi Yamanad, Bhavoshadach, Chotra Mino Miramat, Kad Uttama Shloka Guna Navadat, Pumang Virajeta Vinapa Shughat. That the persons who are no longer interested, Nirvita Trishna, who are finished with their material desires, they like to hear the pastimes of the Lord, which are Bhava Ashaudi. They are the medicine. Ashaudi means medicine or cure for Bhava, the Bhava Roga, the disease of material existence. So just by hearing these pastimes, one's heart becomes purified and one becomes liberated from all the sufferings of the material world. So who, this verse in the 10th canto goes on to say, will not listen to these activities except for one who is a butcher or one who is killing his own self. So that the analogy is, a butcher with the knife, slaughtering the animal and cutting up the meat. This is a horrible thing. It is so sinful, so horrible. It's a very ignominious existence. And afterwards, after this life, one certainly suffers in the darkest regions. of hell. So naturally, a butcher's not interested in hearing about Krishna and becoming purified. But also, Umang virajeta vina pashubnat, that one who is killing his own self by not engaging in devotional service and trying to enjoy the senses and enjoy this material world, he's like a butcher, but he's killing his own self instead of killing some other living entity. He's destroying his own existence, his own spiritual existence, and remaining far away from any hope. But it's a verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna talks about those who take to the demoniac conception of life. Moga sha, moga karmana, moga jnana vichetasaha. That all their hopes, moga asha means hope. Moga sha, moga karmana, all their hopes for enjoying, through performing the different types of work, different activities. Moga jnana vichetasaha, all their culture of knowledge and hopes to live nicely in this material world, they're all destroyed by rakshashim asurim jaiva, by taking to the rakshasha or asura concept of life in which there is no God and there's no need for God. Asatyama pratishtam che jagadadhuranishram. Asatyam, neither truth nor cleanliness nor proper behavior is found in them. Asatyama pratishtam che jagadadhuranishwaram. They think Anishwar, jagadadhuranishwaram, there is no God in this world. There's Anishwar. Ishwar means God, supreme controller. Anishwar, there's no God within the universe, and everything is just meant for sense gratification. That's the demoniac nature, which sometimes we see on display in current material culture. Certain persons come to mind who think they are supremely powerful enjoyers. And they may even, sometimes the word God may come forth from their lips, but they are godless. They are, and then they are guaranteed to be cast into the lower species of life, into the darkest regions. That's just straight Bhagavad Gita. We don't make this stuff up. We just repeat what we hear from the scriptures. But those who take pleasure in hearing about the pastimes of the Lord, they become purified, they become enlivened, and they become delivered from all material pangs. All right, we'll stop here. Questions, comments, realizations? All glories to Lord Varaha. Oh yes, Commodore?
This is the blue board, the red board. After this pastime or before?
Yeah, that is beyond the scope of today's discussion. And yeah, there are two different Varahas appearances.
Okay.
Well, there's a white boar and a red boar. And when he turns blue, he just does that to show to everybody, look, it's Vishnu. And that's one artistic representation.
To show who he is.
But actually there's a Shukla Varaha and the red Varaha. Shukla means white. And I forget what the word for red is. So, yeah.
Okay.
But he's always the Supreme Lord in his various appearances.
One of his many forms.
Unlimited forms. Ananta Rupam, that's called in Brahma Samhita. He has unlimited forms. All right, thank you very much. Lord Varaha Dev ki jai.